Hello, Teresa back again. Hope you're all keeping well and having a wonderful day. Today we're going to work from this page very loosely, but we're going to be take our inspiration from this page. We're going to be using running stitch, applique, blanket stitch, herringbone, satin stitch, and maybe cross stitch. So these are all the stitches that you have used. The applique is from a manufactured tablecloth, and I cut out the shapes, put them down and secured them with running stitch. It's on a woven background. I wove the background for something else and I didn't like it, so I've used it as a background for this, and it actually works. Straight stitch. Now there's nothing on here apart from the blanket stitch that we haven't practiced, so we'll start with the blanket stitch as normal. We'll start with our little practice piece, so I'll just put this over and out of the way, and we'll make a start immediately with our blanket stitch. Just going to make that bigger. There might be a little bit of noise today. There's some men out the front at the oak tree. I mean, they can't knock it down because it's got a preservation order on it, but the roots have been interfering with the drains, and they've crept from the front of the flats right the way along the side to the back, and they're causing our bathrooms to back up water. So there might be a bit of noise. If there is, I'll switch off the sound and just do this quietly. I want to make a change. Right, blanket stitch. So in from the back, let me take that up there and along. Now don't worry about this end, we'll pick that up on the way back. First blanket stitch. Now you can put these side by side for a close effect, like this. Do a couple side by side. And this is why people think it's called buttonhole stitch, but oh, it isn't. It isn't. It is blanket stitch. Right, so that's quite side by side. If it wasn't for the wide strands of hessian there, that would be side by side. Or you can space them. Oops, I've done that one wrong. So take that back. I was listening to what's going on out there and not concentrating. So let's start that one again. Hold it down, up there. There's quite a lot of noise. I need to concentrate. Right, the first one, over and down, still holding the thread down, and there you go. And you can space these as much as you like. You can lengthen them as much as you like, shorten them, have long ones in between, short ones. You can do whatever you like. So that is the base, that is the blanket stitch, and it is so easy, it's so simple. Right, now I'm going to put that aside. Stitches we'll be using, as I mentioned when we looked at the cover, are all the stitches that we have covered. So if you need a reference, just have a look at your samples if you've done them. And where's that one gone? I put the satin stitch there, and these will be what we're going to use on today's example. So we have the running, cross, satin, chain, French knot and feather. Do you know what, we have no herringbone there, do we? Okay, that's another stitch we must do then. Or did we do that and I've put it to one side because we don't need it today? Excuse me, let's have a look. No, we haven't done herringbone. And the pinwheel, I've included the pinwheel, and we might use those on the background. Okay, so we could be using 2, 4, 6, 7 stitches, 7 types of stitches, with a blanket stitch 8. So put those out of the way. Now the fabrics I'm going to use are these, and this one's a bit messy because I've already cut out the shapes from this that I want. Once again, a donation, and this is 30% cotton, 70% silk, 100% embroidery cotton. No name on there. So this is really rather nice. It's black and a grey thread on the silk background. It's very, very fine, and it's all, that is the design. It's all just black. It's very nice. I don't really know what I would do with it if I had any great amounts of it. It isn't something I would actually buy. There isn't enough colour on there. So anyway, this is what we're going to use. And as I said, I've cut out some little motifs already. Nice rose there. So I'll put that out of the way. The other one is this lace. As I said in another video, I just love lace. The back is just as gorgeous as the front. It's actually 3D, it's 3-dimensional, and you can see there's lace on top of lace here. Now I have used it in the past, and I've actually taken the 3D bit off. It didn't suit what I was doing, and it looked really, really fussy, but it is really gorgeous. So we might be using some of this as well. So I have made a start to save time, and as I explained, I have cut out the motifs already. So I cut them out, and because they looked very, very pale against this white background, as you can imagine, it just looked too pale. You see that? So I decided to cut out shapes, the overall shape of the motif, and pin them down. And I think it just gives it that little bit of lift, that little bit of linear definition, if you like, that the shapes need. Otherwise they're just going to get lost in the background. So I've pinned them on their respective shapes, and they just need rearranging, or arranging, should I say. The background is, as usual, calico. That's the base fabric. The background fabric is a really nice cotton, little diamonds. It's machine. Now which way is the right way? See, once again, it's hard to know which is the right and which is the wrong side. It's so fine. It really wouldn't matter anyway. They're both interesting. I think this is the right side, and I had it on the wrong side. Doesn't matter. So that is the rather nice background fabric, which will be placed on the base fabric of calico. So let's just place that edge to edge, and then we'll just place these. So now if I can, I did spend quite a lot of time playing about with these earlier on, and if I can remember rightly, actually I thought I made a little picture somewhere, excuse me, right over there. Yes, I did. I drew a little picture because I like this way. So I had it that way, this straight edge there, that one there, and the smaller leaves there. Now I'm not actually sure at the moment if I'm going to use that. I don't know if that's just a step too far, a step too fussy. I definitely want these three. I just think that is really gorgeous, this leaf, these leaves here. So this is what we're going to start with. I'm going to pop these away for later and start with this one. Right, as usual, I'll start it off and then I'll go off and finish and then bring it back. Need a couple of pins to secure it to the base fabric. Now, why I used two fabrics, the calico and this, if I hadn't used the calico, this cotton fabric would be too flimsy to hold these. This is very flimsy, and this isn't much better either, and it would have to have been worked in a frame. I did get the frame out, my embroidery frame. It's actually too big. I couldn't find the smaller one, so I thought, no, it really needs to go on the calico to give it a bit of strength, so when the needle goes in there's a little bit of almost something for the needle to grip onto. Now, you don't have to line the edges up because part of the charm is, as always, doing things unexpectedly. Now, I did cut this, I went round the motif, so it's quite a good match actually, and I could line it up, but I'm not going to. I always like things just a little bit off because it creates another shape. It creates that lovely shape there, lovely outline, look, and this shape here that starts from narrow to wide, the contrast from narrow to wide. It's another contrast, very narrow there set against the wide there. So we're going to start with running stitch. And what did I decide to do with it? Right, we'll start with running stitch. We all know what running stitch is. So now it's up to you where you actually do your running stitch. You might want to do it just on the edge and then do another running stitch, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go through the 1, 2, 3, the 4 lots of fabric, and I'm going to do a running stitch all the way around the edge. If you felt happier tacking, you know, the long tacking stitches that are later removed, sometimes called basting, by all means do that. It's what you feel happy doing. Now, with a nice long sharp pointed needle, you can actually run it through the fabric several times. There you go, around here. Right, that pink can come out. So going to run it all the way around there on the white, because the inside of the leaves are going to be sewn. They're going to be slow stitched with one of these stitches that we, or not just one, but some of the stitches we've used. I'm very curious as to what the men are doing out there with that tree. Any problems, if I see the first sign of an axe or anything electrical looking like a big saw, I should be out there. I'll call up my sister-in-law and we can do a little protest out there. Leave this tree alone. I'm sure it won't come to that if it's protected, but most of the old trees around here are protected. They must be a couple of 100 years old, but I'm not sure if the authorities, shall we say, really has that sort of respect for old things. We've had an awful lot of our old buildings knocked down. Lovely Edwardian buildings were all knocked down to make way for a giant supermarket and a hideous looking precinct. That was in the 70s. And this precinct was ahead of its time. I can remember a certain program being filmed there because it was so modern, and it's horrible. The style is brutalist, and it really is brutal. It's square, it's angular. I just cannot say that blooming word. It has lots of angles. It's very boxy. I should practice using that word. It's surprising, isn't it, the amount of times you find you need to say the word that you have trouble saying. I will practice that because I had trouble with that before. Something I was explaining to you all, and had trouble saying that word. But so yeah, all the beautiful buildings were knocked down. We have a lovely building. I can actually see it from here. And it used to be a nursing home. Oh, long time ago. And then it became school. I believe that it was used during the 1940s for... Oh, was it TB? Yes, I believe it was a TB hospital. And there used to be a horrible saying. Not that I remember that, goodness, I wasn't around then. But I can remember my mum saying that locally, it used to be said that once you went in there, you never came out. But people would come from all over the country for this hospital. And it's quite a lovely building. There, I pulled out that because I'm talking. But recently there was a fire, and it's going to be knocked down now. But once again, there's several ancient trees in the grounds, and I know that local people are worried that these trees will be knocked down. So I can feel perhaps a little protest coming on. Not that that's the sort of thing I do, but when it comes to preserving history and beautiful big strong oak trees, then yes, it's different. And I know my sister-in-law feels the same. The last time the men were out there, she was here and she was very worried. So I've got one ear out there at the moment. It's gone very quiet. It's probably tea time. Right, so around there. I'm wondering if you can hear them working. As I've said that, it's gone deathly quiet out there. It's a bus route. I live on the bus route. I can see the buses come down the little hill there. There's a bus stop directly outside. It's a London bus, a red bus, and it's quite nice. I just love that noise. It's only one bus. It's every 20 minutes. But it's nice. So, we're nearly round there. I should just show you how... I won't do all the leaves in satin stitch or finish them off, but I will show you how I'm going to work some of them. And I think I'm going to use satin stitch or running stitch. So to use satin stitch on all of them, it would be very time consuming, and you would probably end up with something resembling a piece of fabric that you could buy in a shop, which really defeats the object, I think, of doing it yourself. Right, is the camera focusing on that? There is a green stitch all the way around. Problem is, now today I've got different glasses on for threading needles, which makes the camera, the screen there on the computer, blurred. So I can't really win. I've got these trifocal things, and they're dreadful. Cannot use them at all. And I found the best glasses, believe this or not, is from the pound shop in the high street. I did check with the optician that they're not going to damage my eyesight, and he said no, not at all, as long as you just use them as they're intended to be used, not for driving but for reading and computer work. Unfortunately, as you know, he said that as I was actually paying for the super duper glasses, 2 pair of these trifocal things that I can't really wear because they're just so awkward and they make me feel dizzy. So if any of you wear these trifocal things and have any tips for how to walk in them, or walk not in them not in them, but walk while wearing them. Mind you, I have felt like jumping on them. Is that walking? So, and now we're on the home straight. Oops. And that's that. Now already that running stitch around the edge of the black has, I think, enhanced it. I'll hold it up to the camera in a minute. Now, did I enlarge that? Yes, I did. Right. Oh, I'm pleased with how this is looking, and it's only just 1 row. Ah, smashing. And that's that. Whoops, nearly knotted that there. Over the back,